Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I am the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. One of my most favorite people is Masami Sato, and she's speaking today. And she's become a favorite because she's spoken a few times at Global Chamber, and it's always informative, always amazing and inspiring because it's around impact and having impact and recognizing that sometimes we feel like we want to have impact, so we think we've got to do something huge and big and planned and monstrous. And what Masami has done is revolutionize a way of having big impact with small steps. And so, really, whether it's like what we mentioned yesterday in another meeting with atomic habits, the concept of creating basic habits and processes that are little small increments but frequent turn out like the dripping on a stone over time to create a mark on the stone and a mark on the world. So, Masami, thank you so much for taking the time around breakfast time in Tokyo and around dinner time here in Los Angeles. Your topic specifically is how global businesses are rethinking ESG, trust, and long-term value creation. And considering the way the world is today with all sorts of things happening, including the fast development of artificial intelligence, we're all waiting to hear and what we should be doing next. And I'm going to guess you're going to have some words of wisdom for us. After you, thank you for speaking at Global Chamber.
Thank you, Doug, for the lovely introduction. So today, in relation to, business for good, the business is doing good. Like we perhaps, have heard of the broader topics because, as you mentioned, things like ESG have and CSR have become a big topic today. It wasn't that 18 years ago when I actually started the initiative, B1J1 initiative, but it's an extraordinary time. But today, it's not about thinking just the big things, but it's actually thinking about the small things, as you said. What I wanted to do today is to actually look at the world in a new ways, because when we think about the big things, the world seems to be very overwhelming. But what if we understand this world from new, different perspectives and the power that we already have ourselves to make a difference? So here is this one example of new perspectives in the world. So we know that the world faces so many big challenges today. But what if we shifted our thinking from, charity, like thinking about, is this about giving lots of money to charity, to actually, what if it was about creating impact? What if us moving from guilt-based actions, like we feel guilty or we have to do it, companies has to do it, otherwise they will be criticized. This guilt-based thinking to joy and meaning-based thinking. And what if we started to move from self-gain, me thinking, to shared prosperity, which is we thinking? And what if things like big topic, CSR and ESG was actually about creating a positive change and how we get to share that? So now, what I wanted to do, so this is very new because this is a conversation I just had with with the CEO of an organization called Conscious Capitalism. So John Mackey, who was the founder of Whole Foods Market, started the Conscious Capitalism movement 18 years ago, and that was the same year I started to B1G1 18 years ago as well. And now Conscious Capitalism movement, some of the notable companies, like I just put the logos there, but Timothy Henry, the CEO, and I, when I was talking about this concept, then he talked about what's actually quite different today. What's changed in that 18 years. So let's listen to Timothy.
This language of stakeholders and this language of purpose is now part of our business lexicon. So while people may or may not agree with what exactly it means, It's part of the debate and the dialogue. So that's a massive change from where we were in 2008, where most CSR initiatives were philanthropy and PR. And that's really, they reported to marketing and PR and we weren't very we consciously differentiated ourselves versus CSR because we felt that was like a band-aid being put on things versus fundamentally changing how you ran your business. So I think that's changed enormously in terms of purpose and stakeholder being legitimate topics for discussion. Um, and I also think the thing that stayed the same, though, and is still difficult for people to grasp, is that it isn't just purpose, and it isn't just stakeholder orientation, and it isn't just being a great place to work, and it isn't just having conscious leadership. It's building a system where those things go together, that actually you bake that into the DNA of a business, and then it becomes a relevant way you run your business. Now, that was the message then, and that is the message now, is how this is an integrated approach. Because a lot of people still will go, oh, we have a purpose. Great, you have a purpose, but does it matter? Is it part of your DNA? Or, we're stakeholder oriented, but are you really? And are you connecting that to the other bits of your business, to purpose and to strategy and to your people? So this integrated approach, I think, is still really important. In fact, more important today than it was then.
So that's what Timothy, told me about what's happening. And this is not just an idea today. He said this is actually something we have to do in the time of radical uncertainty. Organizations do not have this. When AI brings all the technologies available for every business, the differentiation is the humanity in the company. So anyway, so that's the beginning of what we're going to explore. But I want to talk about why we are here as well, because it's not just about the concept, it's about our life and the meaning of why we are here. So my journey started in 2008, my journey started 51 years ago as a human being, but my journey as a social entrepreneur started in 2007 with this simple idea, a question. What if every time something good happens in businesses, something great happened in the world? What if every business which starts with some kind of idea or aspiration to create some meaning and good, could naturally and automatically contribute to solving the challenges in the world every day? So that's the question that led to my work. And today, B1J1 looks like this. If you go to our website, we are dedicated to work with businesses to bring more joy, impact, meaning, and purpose into what they do every day. But today's concept is really the power of small. And in order to talk about the power of small, I just want to highlight why power of small is so important when it's acted on. Idea is only powerful when it's put into action and implemented. And when we actually do this, it can immediately increase meaning and purpose in what we do. And it's create the impact and the connection, not just a theory, but in reality. And then it leads to real prosperity. I talk about the real prosperity because it's not necessarily just about what we get or what we have today, but within what we have and what we do, when we create this real sense of long-term prosperity and the real long-term prosperity for all, that's finally when we can experience true prosperity. Because if we are just gaining maximum benefit today, which lead to longer-term consequences, where we know that it's not sustainable, then that's going to come back to us and to our next generation. So we are going to talk about the real prosperity. But undeniably, when we are small like this, just a little dot, yes, we do feel powerless because there are lots of big things happening. And in order for us to see the real power of small, we need to do one thing, which is to really change our perspective. And sometimes we need to be able to have a different lens to see what it is in front of us and find the real meaning where we can act on those insights. So again, I said that we're going to shift some perspective around the power of small and the power we already have. So again, in this unique contrast, I want to highlight a few numbers or remind ourselves, because some of these numbers, like we can kind of see that, understand. So today, so many still young children don't have access to basic things such as basic education, completing primary school education. So in order for us to provide education for all children, we need to drive something like more than $40 billion every single year, in addition to what's happening, to ensure that all the children would have access to very basic education. We need to drive more than $110 billion in every year, in addition to what we are already doing, to ensure that we can provide access to clean water to everyone who currently do not have access. We need $250 billion each year, in addition to what's already happening, to make sure that some of those or all of the malnourished children today can have access to basic nutrition. So this is what we need to do, what we need to create, what we need to drive. But these are big numbers. So now I'm going to show you a few different numbers in contrast. So these are the numbers or size of global industries. $7.6 trillion is the size of education industry. And $7.2 trillion is the medical industry. And then $8.7 trillion is the food industry. So without rationalizing this too deeply or too much, what we see in this very simple contrast is the recognition that we already have the power to solve some of the most important challenges in the world, when businesses can drive those change. And these industry or businesses are only small fraction of what's happening in the world. If we think about our own work, the industries we belong, or type of product and services which we purchase, then there are so many more things that's happening every single day without us even thinking about it. And the businesses touch every life on the planet. So what we see here is that what's missing is not the power for us to make a difference, but what's perhaps still missing are the connections that link our everyday work, our great intention, with tangible, meaningful opportunities to help solve those important challenges. And when we think about the connections, we can all think about connections in our lives that matter. And also the moments and the connections that brought us here today. And so, if you are tuning into this session, perhaps you are a business person or business owner or leader. Why are you here? What brought you here? And I have a story to tell as well. So what I'm gonna do is just to stop for a moment, so I can just talk about what brought me here. So Doug, you when we connected, we shared lots of stories around our connection with Japan, and I am Japanese. I came from a background, growing up here in the times of economic boom. And my parents were busy working people. They were never really at home. So me and my sister grew up feeling quite lonely. But then what happened? And I didn't feel I fit in Japan. So that was the reason I left Japan, because at that time I just wanted to get out of this place. I didn't see the kind of depth of beauty of this country the way I see today. But something amazing happened when I left Japan, because at that time I was this very introverted young Japanese girl who didn't even know how to connect and express myself in my own language. But when I started to travel around the world, something extraordinary happened to me. That when I didn't have much, I didn't have a lot of money to travel, so I was, backpacking and not having a lot of money. I couldn't even speak the language. Everywhere around the world, people are very kind and generous, and they supported me and they helped me. Whenever I had challenges, I realized that I didn't have to be scared because there were always people who are willing to support, each other. So that was extraordinary time, but also that was the time I started to actually see something that was very interesting, that I, lived and stayed and traveled in countries where people seem to have sufficient resources, right? And then there are countries where people had almost nothing. They didn't have a basic things like access to food or water or education, those things I talked about. But then regardless of where I was, I found people who are both fulfilled, and they seems to be happy with what they had, and those who didn't seem to be fulfilled regardless of what they had. Then I thought, why are we doing all of this? And working so hard to try to get more, if getting more didn't lead us to greater happiness beyond a certain extent. But then I didn't know how to solve some of the big challenges I saw when I was traveling. So I was kind of moving on place to place, thinking that I can't help everyone. So I would just live my life. But in 2001, something happened to me, and that something changed my life. So let me just share my screen again and show you what happened to me. And some of you might feel this. So in 2001, when I was living in New Zealand, and I became a mom for the first time, and that was accidental thing that happened to me because I wasn't planning to have a kids. I used to say, I don't need to have my own kids. I don't need to even get married or have my own family because I didn't want to create any more children who felt like I did. So when my daughter was born, when I felt so connected and overwhelmed by this feeling of wanting to do everything I could to make sure that she will grow up happy, safe, and have great opportunities in life. And that was that moment I realized I actually had to do something about other kids that I saw when I was traveling. And I used to think, well, I'm just a small person. I can't help everybody. But when my daughter was born, I realized that she was one person who was lucky to be born where she was. But not all the children were lucky. And just by luck, or lack of luck, they can't even go to school. And that wasn't fair. So I thought instead of just taking care of my own family and own children, I wanted to do something, even small things. So that's when I became an entrepreneur and started my very first food business in New Zealand. And that was how I started. And initially, because I didn't have, money, it's like a startup capital. So we bought this tiny takeaway food bar and then build, improve the business. And then eventually this business became quite popular with truck drivers and factory people from the factories nearby coming to have lunch and wanting to see us. And then I had 2 businesses in New Zealand, sold those businesses, moved to Australia, worked hard to build a commercial kitchen so that we can produce healthy eating options for busy working families. And eventually, about 5, 6 years later, my company was producing packaged frozen meals that got distributed to retail stores, like independent supermarket, health food stores were ordering our product. And we were selling those products to places in 3 different states in Australia. So out of all of the struggles and challenges that we overcame, our business started to grow. But every day when we were running this business, I was saying to myself, one day when our business is bigger, one day when we have a more profit, one day when we have a more time, we wanted to do something to help children. Perhaps we will build a soup kitchen, have our own foundation. But that one day seems to be moving along. And this very, very simple idea came to me. And I thought, what if instead of trying to do something big one day, we did something small and did it every day? So for our food company, the concept of giving just one meal to a child so that child can be encouraged to go to school, have a free meal, and continue the education. That idea transformed my business and how I felt about my business and how the people working in my business felt. Suddenly, it wasn't about a company doing good, impressive things one day or promising, making pledges, but suddenly doing good, helping somebody, creating a smile became part of every day. And customers even can be part of that by us saying, thank you so much for, enjoying our meal because you didn't know this, but you actually provided the meal to somebody else, a little child, perhaps. When we implement this micro act of kindness in business, things transform because you feel greater sense of gratitude for your team for doing that. Or perhaps you might set a target or a goal that is not just about the sales target, but it's about the impact that we get to have together. And when we are to do small things, we remove the barrier, such as we need to be making more money to do good. Because, actually just 1 cent or 2 cents or 10 cents or $1 for every sale or every customer, everything starts to become the positive change. And that sense of contributions we can cultivate in our business attract people who want to actually do more than just working and exchanging their time with money, but they want to be dedicating their life doing something that actually created a better world. So that's the idea of B1G1 fundamentally. So let's just imagine, what if every time you had a coffee or enjoyed a cup of drink that you like, a child actually receives access to safe, clean, life-saving water for one day. Or every time you purchased something that you loved, a girl receives access to education. So the future of the girl and the family and the community start to transform. Or what if your coach or consultant or accountant did work for you and with you to improve your business? A family received a goat or access to sewing machine to start a business, to create their own financial prosperity. So that's the idea of power of small and B1G1 philosophy, but ideology and action. So how do we make this happen? So let's just look at one big challenge one of those big challenges I talked about. So let's say access to water. Actually today, even in this time, more than 600 to 700 people around the world still do not have access to water. In so many countries like where we are, we can just go to our kitchen or bathroom and turn the tap and clean water comes out. We don't even think about that. But that's not the norm for so many people. Women and the children around the world still pick up a bucket like that and walk to a place to collect water and walk back. And that might take 2 hours of their time every single day. And it's very heavy. I've done this. You can't even bring it up, the bucket to the shoulder height. But they do this, and the water they collect may not be even clean and safe to drink, and they might get sick as well. And this is a big problem. But when we try to change that, fix these challenges, it doesn't seem like something that we can change right away. But what if we actually took what's happening and then broke it down into a micro way of contributing? So in B1G1, if you wanted to give access to clean water to someone, you can actually do this for 1 or 2 cents per day to ensure that one person receives access to water for 1 day. Imagine if for every cup you have today, can you give 1 cent or 2 cents per cup? We can. And when we do that, it accumulates to the real power of small. So we created over the 18 years, like when we had the idea, we didn't know how to do it, but we created the mechanism, processes, the systems, and the initiative, and also the kind of like financial working to make sure that when businesses contribute this 2 cents, we don't take something off this 2 cents ourselves, but that funds goes to the vetted selected charity organizations, and then they can actually use this for the program that they run. And so B1G1 concept and initiative is really about three important things. And the first one is impact, that it needs to be measurable impact, because then later we could actually look at all of the statistics and generate into reporting or messaging that we can communicate with the team members and the customers, as well as stakeholders, because they are all part of making this change possible together with the company. So that's so important. And then the second thing is even more important, that it's not about one-off thing. When some big campaign or a disaster happens, there is a lot of philanthropic donations and contributions that move. But what's missing in our world is the habit. And Doug, you talked about atomic habit. So many people read about this power of habit to transform our lives. But when we want to transform our world, we need to shift our habit. What happens every day when we are even not thinking about it? And then the third part is connection. The connection to who we are and why we are here. And connections that our employees, team members, and the customers feel when they do business with us. And the fact that we are not doing this alone to try to be impressive, like, oh, we've done this thing. No, this is about understanding that even though as an individual company or individual person, we cannot solve all of the problems, but if we did small things every day together and inspire more actions by showing what's possible and encouraging each other, we really can make a great difference as well. And I believe that when we bring these three things together, we create more joy. And joy sounds like a fluffy, nice idea, but in business, this is critical now, that the grinding of part of the work can be done by technology and AI moving forward. But what would attract people to still come together, to work together, is this sense of meaning, purpose, and joy. That's how we are going to choose how we would spend our time moving forward. Now, to just to give you a sense of over the years of lots of different businesses coming together, I want to just show you a quick video to show you how it feels to be part of this movement.
Hello. At Slumbersack here in Germany, for every baby sleeping bag we sell to our customers around the world, we give to support the health and education of children in need.
Hi everybody, we're Ellis Knight International Recruitment in the UK, and for every placement and interview that we conduct, we give access to life-saving resources to people in need around the world.
Here at Green Supercamp Australia, we're really aware of the impact our young leaders will make in the future. And that's why we involve all the young people who come to camp in selecting B1G1 projects that they want to make a difference in the world.
At Beyond Impact, we make a difference with B1G1 in every event, every coaching call we facilitate, and every speech that we give. And one of our B1G1 goals is to rescue 1,000 kids from sex trafficking.
Hello from Oak Aquatic Swim School, Miami, Florida in the USA. We teach families to be safer around the water, and for every swimming lesson we teach, we give impacts to B1G1, and we're so grateful to have B1G1 in our lives.
So when B1G1 first started, it was more of a collection of, small businesses, business owners personally feeling that this was something they wanted to do because there was no awareness for ESG, and social impact even. So we had to call for people's humanity and goodness to come and work with us. But today we are starting to also work more with medium-sized companies, growing businesses, because they want to engage their team in this. So over the years, we have together created nearly 400 million impact. And what we set out to do at the beginning of the year is to refresh our collective target. And then we said, okay, now we want to work together to reach 1 billion impact as quickly as we can, even though it took a very long time to get to 395 million impact. So this is going to take a while. However, if anybody who is watching or listening or watching the recording later resonate with this message, and if your business become part of this, or others who might resonate with this idea, and maybe few other bigger companies want to join in, then perhaps reaching 1 billion might not be too far. It might not take too long. But the reason why having a collective goal is important is not because it's an impressive big number, but because every person's impact, every company's impact get counted together as a shared number. That's why this shared target is so important. And we are so grateful for leaders who resonate with this message. Doug, when I connected, it was very joyful connection. And through your network of businesses too, when we start shifting the thinking that this is not something we would do one day, but we do every day and start small, then profound things can be possible. So what I am about to do is to share just one company's example of going through this journey and what happened to the business. So let me just give you this quick example of a B1G1 business that actually engaged with us for the first time in 2016. So that's been like a decade of work together. When I first met the owner, the lovely lady called Miren from Oak Aquatic Swim School in Miami, Florida. She told me why she was excited about being part of B1G1. And at that time, it was a one swim school. So let's just listen to Miren at the beginning.
My name is Miren Oka, and I am the owner and director of Oak Aquatic Swim School. We've been in business for 23 years. And we teach children to swim. My goal is to keep growing if I have the right people to put in management and to put in leadership positions. I could stop right now. I have enough money. I have enough, but I have so many people that we're able to create opportunities for them to grow that's what drives me.
So this is the beginning of our connection with Okaquatics. What we saw at that time was this sense of purpose in the leader. And that they were on the beginning of the journey to really think about their impact. And then we started to work together. So now Okaquatics have 3 different swimming centers. Their team has grown, but they've taken an extraordinary journey since. And we've seen how their business transformed. So let me just take you to Okaquatics today. And so when we look at the impact of Okaquatics Swim School that have been working with us, for example, they have given more than 1.5 million days of access to life-saving water by giving through the swim lessons. And also, when their team members celebrate their birthdays, they give B1G1 tokens to those team members so that they can choose the impact they want to create, out of more than 400 carefully selected high-impact projects. So the team members know the presence of B1G1 impact, but not only that, they started to do other things on top of what they were doing. So let's hear from some of the team members, also Miren today.
Social responsibility is great when we go out to do projects, but also when we take care of our own team members.
I talk about it that it's this amazing ripple of impact. So ripple of impact is ROI. It's the ROI of using your business as a force for good. It's the ripple of impact as using your business as a force for good.
I think a small impact that we can make together with the organization of B1G1, we make a difference in the world. So we say, only as a swim school in Miami, what impact can we have? But however, when we put our effort with B1G1, I think that's a game changer.
That is the best inspiration that can give and lead to everybody. It is amazing. I love to be part of this big movement.
Our team, our families, and our community. I think that's what makes Okaquatics so special and the best swimming school in the world.
Our team member is a #1 client, so we need to make sure that we're providing a good service to our team in order to help, of course, families and eventually your community. So I think it's a cycle. So take care of your team, and your team will take care of the families, and then the families will take care of the community.
Please come, join the team, and be a swimmer, a safer swimmer.
We are business for good!
So Doug, I'm not sure you met Miren in the ambassador connection sessions, but Miren is one of the B1G1 ambassadors. But after they became B1G1, because B1G1 makes it easy for any business to actually implement something micro and small, but they realized that the B1G1 became certified, social enterprise arm became certified B Corp. So they actually went on the journey to become B Corp. And then also they became 1% for the planet company. And then they are part of conscious capitalism. And they are now ranked as top workplaces. And then 2 years ago, I think, they actually turned into an employee-owned company. And so starting with little things that was easy to do, they started to go on the journey together with the team and became a real force for good. And they are still continuing on that journey. And I think stories like this of a company like Swim School, which is an ordinary business type rather than like a social initiative, you can just see the potential in every business. But not only that, it's actually a nice thing to do, it's great things to do for the business and growing. So what I want to do to thank you for tuning in to this session and spending your precious time with me, I would love to create an impact together with you too. And this is one of the B1G1, let's say, tools that businesses can use. And perhaps, Doug, in your Global Chambers events and sessions, sometimes when it's a nice opportunity to engage people to choose the impact out of all of the 480 or so projects in B1G1, because that's too many. So we can choose a few to say, thank you for being here today. And today you can create an impact with me. So if you have a phone or something to scan the QR code, then you can choose the impact you want to create. And then as a part of that, you feel you want to learn more about this initiative and engage as a business or even as an individual in this movement to help create a better world, you can let us know by letting us know who you are. But if you want to just submit the impact, that's fine. And this impact will be funded by me because this is my link. So you can do that. And I want to thank you for joining me. And I chose this project today because one of the projects is a beekeeping business. And I believe that what we are doing here with the power of small is really creating and changing the ecosystem of what business is about. When we think about the ecosystem change, we think, well, big things like a climate change is going to disrupt us. Yes, sure. But it's actually accumulation of little things that's powerful, such as little bees pollinating flowers and ensuring us that we have a lasting prosperity year after year. When bees disappear, we lose a huge percentage of our food production capability. But you can give a family the support to start a beekeeping business. And that beekeeping business is good for their community, but also it's provide income for the families to send their children to school. So that's actually really one way to uplift everyone. So I said power of small in action, create the meaning and the purpose, impact and the connection and the real prosperity. Over the 18 years of working, we've seen this in action. And when I say real prosperity, it's really important to also understand that the power of small is really about the power of all. Because without uplifting every person, we really cannot create a true prosperity in this world. Because it's not about just planting trees or doing environmental work. Because if people are facing extreme poverty and they have to choose between having access to water or education, of course, education gets put behind. And when people don't have access to education, how would they know how to take care of their land and create their own prosperity in their own land? So all of the work that we get to help and support around the world to uplift the people is part of creating true prosperity. And it's very, very simple. It's not so complicated. That if we play a part in small way, every way, we really can create real prosperity. And this is really about transforming our business by creating the sense of gratitude and contribution, and that leads to prosperity. But when we create the contribution-based culture, we ignite more creativity in our workplace. We bring people together with the sense of alignment and connection that is about something bigger than each one of us and our own self-gain. Moving from me to we is great for business. And when you attract people with the right message to come in and join in your workforce, and work together, we have the collective power to solve challenges. This collaboration thinking is critical. We need to be working together because we cannot change our world alone. But if we cannot change the way we operate, then our own children would not have the future in the world as beautiful as the world we grew up in. When we look at the challenges, and today, undeniably, we see so many challenges. and we could feel overwhelmed. But I was recently reading this book called The Obstacle is the Way. And when we understand this, what we realize is that what we see as obstacles are the precise reasons that challenge us to do the things that we get to do in our lifetime. And the last little video is from global leader Paul Polman, who was the former CEO of Unilever for 10 years and transformed what Unilever stood for in the place of social responsibility. I had an opportunity to spend a day with Paul in Kenya late last year, and this was one message I just wanted to share with you. Piece of advice or message, what would you like to share?
Well, I think the best leaders in the world know what we need are leaders with a high level of humanity, humility, empathy, compassion, leaders that have a strong sense of purpose, that are able to embed that at the core of their business. This is really showing, in my opinion, how humanity should function. And if we would be able to multiply this and do this like you do with buy one, give one, to multiply that across the world, in fact, each and all of us are making these ripple effects that change the world for the better, and there's no better time to do that than now. In some parts of the world you meet people that think that greed is good, but in my life I've discovered that over the longer term generosity will always win. So we need these type of leaders that put the interest of the common good ahead of their own. There's no better time to do that than now.
So that's a message from Paul. So even the people who are at the pinnacle of the global leadership are talking about this, the importance of power of small. And just like I said, that the little things like pollination is key to actually creating long-term prosperity. I believe that the businesses and their everyday micro actions are key to creating real prosperity in our world for all of us. So that little tiny dot we saw at the beginning perhaps have a now greater meaning that we all have opportunity and responsibility and the privilege to be inspiring positive ideas and actions together so that we get to live our lifetime doing the things that matters the most. So I just want to thank you for sharing that time. And if you are interested in connecting with me, then please find me on LinkedIn and follow my updates or let me know how you felt about this session as well. And I will just stop my share. And what I also want to do, Doug, is for those of you who may not have been able to scan the code earlier to choose the impact, I will just put the link over here, right here in the, oh, sorry, I think I should put it here. So Doug, that is the link for the choose the impact form. So when you share the recording, you can also share this link. So those people who are watching the recording can also find how they can engage into creating the impact together through this session. And if also they are happy to connect with us, then they can let us know as well. So sorry, I wanted to leave much more time to be able to have an additional conversation, but now it's already 5 minutes to the hour. So Doug and Rutherford, I wonder how you felt or what you thought about this.
Rutherford, or do you have any comments to?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of comments. I have more than 5 minutes worth of comments, but
yeah, well, we should actually connect later.
Yeah, we
if
should.
you're happy to
We
connect,
should.
yeah.
Absolutely. So here's what I'm going to say overall about you. There's one word that describes you, and it's joy. That came out so often in the passion you have, the joy you have in doing this. It's so self-evident. It's fantastic. So just know that. I have a question. So is Unilever the only large company that said that's with you guys are companies like Starbucks and Walmart and all these Amazon, these big companies that giving a penny to every package that Amazon would be tremendous. You'd get to that goal, that one with a lot of zeros after it. You'd get to that with just a few big companies because of what they do. Well, how can they say no?
Well, I don't know because I haven't spoken with them.
Okay.
But Rutherford, but perhaps this is for the separate conversation later. But this kind of conversation could be precisely how we can start shifting what's happening.
Yeah.
And maybe the time wasn't right for B1G1 to be working with large companies before, because over the 18 years, it was frustratingly slow, right? Like to do this, but that gave us the time to really create the ecosystem through working with small businesses. Where if we went from day one to large companies, maybe like if we managed to work with one major large company, then it would have been great for our work too, but perhaps that would become about that company, right? So I feel now we have an ecosystem supported by these lots of small to medium-sized businesses. So perhaps when large companies come in, we will be able to work together in a way that those large companies' influence will enhance and strengthen the ecosystem rather than it becomes what one or a few large companies want to do. So I feel like now if we open up this dialogue and the conversation, and some of the leaders from these large companies actually see this power of small as a powerful thing that they could be behind, to support as almost like a guardian, right? Then I think it can be very powerful. And you probably would have some thoughts on how that might actually work. This
Yeah, I
time.
think it aligns very well with almost every big company's um, talk. If you talk about leadership, you want to do small things, small actions. Doug mentioned, the habit, right? Atomic habits, and basically that's kind of what this is, right? Is doing these really small things that make a huge impact. Well, every company wants every worker to understand that that they have value. The small things they do matter to the end goal, growing business, all that kind of stuff, increasing revenue, all that kind. So that's 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 what's I love this. I remember about B1G1. When I saw it, I went, when did I heard about this years ago, right? So I've heard of you before, but you were fantastic. Thank you for allowing me to sit in and listen to this. This was great.
Oh,
Go ahead,
wow.
Doug.
Great, thank you. And Doug, when we began, you were saying like, oh, actually the way it was promoted, like with the AI usage and perhaps many people didn't realize perhaps I think many people today are feeling a little bit also overwhelmed with so many things coming at them as well. So we are also exploring how we will bring these kind of ideas to people in a most meaningful way. So this is like I see it work in progress together because if the power of networks became also really the power of collective impact that has a tangible, outcome on the lives of people really like around the world, then that's massive. So we are exploring this together, and I'm just so grateful that we get to work with Global Chamber in this. So thank you so much for letting us be here.
So looking forward to our next steps together as well as we incorporate G1 inside Global Chamber. In the last minute that we have, what would you like to leave us with? What should we do next?
I think, these type of events or when we watch something and be inspired, that's great because it gradually like the actions in the world might shift, but it's also easy to go like, okay, that was great. And then let's just move on to the other priorities, right? So I feel if I get to have a separate conversation with you, taking this opportunity, then that would be great. So Doug, I definitely think we need to connect and talk about how that next step look like. Right, so I will send you a note. But that's about too. Like, if you are happy to link up, then maybe you can just send me a message through the LinkedIn link that I shared. And then we will see when we can connect. And I'm coming to America, as I said at the beginning, in May. So who knows that in the places I get to go to, if you know some great people, I get to actually meet up whilst I'm already there, then that would be really amazing as well. So anybody else, if you are quietly listening, also thank you for tuning in and coming by. If you are happy to connect with me, then please do feel free to drop me a note through the LinkedIn link. And I'm very happy to hear also from you how you felt about this session as well. So thank you so much for your time and looking forward to taking this connection to something great together as well.
We will. And your point is well taken that we sometimes get inspired, like I'm sure all of us are now. And then we walk away and we feel better, but the action piece is missing, or the action piece comes much later. And so let's take some action in the coming days. Thank you so much, Masami. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You have a great evening or a day, or depending on which time zone you are. And I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.